Good day and welcome to Westchester Talk Radio. I'm John Marino and we are produced by Sharc Creative. You see the Sharc Creative logo on the wall behind me in orange and blue, and we are made possible by Entergy, the Indian Point Energy Center, supporting our communities through April of 2021. Lipolis Electric, don't be left in the dark. Get Lipolis, and by Hightower Westchester, managing your wealth to a fiduciary standard. Here on the Sports Report on Westchester Talk Radio, we are joined by the athletic director at Irvington High School, officially the director of health, physical education, and athletics for the Irvington School District, John Buonamano. John, first of all, thank you for joining us here on Westchester Talk Radio. Secondly, wanted to talk about the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic on the entire high school sports season so far throughout Section 1, the lower Hudson Valley, covering Westchester, Rockland, Putnam, and southern Dutchess County. Now, you came down to Irvington this year, your first year with the Bulldogs program, from Croton Harmon, two river towns, one below 287, one way above 287. And I'm pretty sure that if you were still at Croton, you'd be dealing with the same things you are dealing with at Irvington so far. How has the fall sports season gone to date?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me and have me on your show. It's gone very well thus far. Making that transition down from Croton, there's some additional challenges in the sense of, learning a new district and everything, but, the problems are the same across the section as far as what athletic directors have to manage and deal with right now. And I have to say that I'm pleasantly surprised in the way that our student athletes and families have handled everything with the challenges that have been presented. And things have gone really well thus far.
Have you had concerns once everything opened up, the start of the fall sports season got pushed back by a number of weeks? Were you concerned going in about how the kids would adapt?
I think everyone was just excited to have the opportunity to go back out there and play again. It's been a while since, from an interscholastic standpoint, people have had the opportunity to play sports. So I think everyone was really up for the challenge in the sense that, they wanted to make sure that they did their part, and they're continuing to do their part to make sure it's as safe as possible of environment for them to participate in, and they really want to see their season continue on. I think, as we entered the start of the season, there's always a concern about, cases popping up and then programs having to shut down. And, I'm pleasantly surprised with the way that, especially our student athletes here at Irvington, have handled the situation and wearing masks during play and everything like that. So it's been a very good experience thus far.
Have the athletes worn masks during actual contests on the field?
Yeah, they have. So these are the masks that our Great Booster Club actually put together for our teams. So, they
great
funded
promotional
them
tool.
Yeah. Our kids love them. Honestly, they're perfect. They're meet the compliance standards with the CDC as far as being a minimum of at least 2 layers, and they're branded for our Bulldogs, and the kids have worn them every single competition that we've had so far.
Irvington, of course, the Bulldogs. Now, you have to follow the guidance from the state of New York, and they've been adjusting things as we've gone along the past few months. Talk about the sports that are allowed to be played now. I know the state set up high risk, medium risk, and low risk sports, and there have been a lot of adjustments that have had to be made.
Yeah, so this fall we've had our low to moderate risk sports were able to begin. So that included cross country, field hockey, tennis, and soccer. So those are the 4 sports that we're currently running right now. Sports like volleyball, cheer, and football actually were moved to the spring, early spring, and it's going to be the fall season 2 sports. And that's something that once we received our initial guidance, that decision was made to ensure that those higher risk sports have an opportunity to play their seasons throughout. Like I said, those 4 sports that we're running right now have been doing a great job. Those are sports that require or allow for a greater sense of social distancing during a sport as opposed to some of the higher risk sports. It also keeps in mind, the shared equipment, passing equipment from one person to another as part of what kind of classified them as high, medium and low risk sports.
How much have you had to work in tandem with other schools and other school districts, especially when it comes to scheduling and rescheduling? Have you basically stuck to, in soccer, in field hockey, cross country, the original schedule that was put out by Section 1, or have you adjusted at least somewhat, if not a great deal?
Yeah, so the way that this had worked this year was that we actually had our schedules completely wiped out. During that time, the section had reworked schedules to kind of keep it so that it was more regional approach, so that we're playing schools that were closer to us. But throughout the season, there are, some hiccups here and there and a lot of adjustments that need to be made. And my athletic assistant, Lisa Torch, has been phenomenal in helping manage some of those schedules, because as you can imagine, it's a daily occurrence where we're kind of shifting things around to make sure that our kids have the opportunity to play.
If you were sticking just to league play, you might have to do some traveling, like up to Appalling, maybe in Dutchess County, or maybe if you had a game out of the area, an early season game, part of a tournament, etc. I guess that's not the case right now. Like you said, staying close to home. Is it mostly the Dobbs ferries and schools like that?
For the most part, yes. We were able, after a certain date in mid-October, which we're heading towards the end of October now, where we were allowed to go travel outside of our local region, so outside of the Westchester area. So we have tried to schedule as many games as we possibly can for our athletes, so they have that opportunity to play, throughout the the season. But yeah, I mean, we've played, the majority of our competitions have been more, in that local area at this point in time.
How about the parents? How have they reacted? How have they adapted to?
They've been extremely supportive and very patient. With a lot of the changes occurring kind of almost at the last minute, they've been very supportive and understanding of everything, the way that we have our gate list set up. There's no visitor spectators allowed at any home events through the section. So that's something that all of us as athletic directors have communicated to our communities. From the home standpoint, every single day, I send out a message for the next day's games with the, gate list, basically registration. And then we pass that on to our chaperones, who then do screenings of every single individual that comes in, for our activities. They meet at a tent, they have, a temperature screening, they're asked the questions. They're checked off on the gate list. Again, the gate list was created because we're only allowed to have 2 spectators per home athlete. So it does limit who can come to the games. But, on the whole, everyone's done a very nice job and been very supportive and understanding about what's been going on.
So who is allowed to attend? Is it basically parents of the athletes as the only spectators?
For the most part, I'm sure that they could honestly assign, 2 individuals to their child if they need to, but you're only allowed to have 2 per student athletes. So from my early experience here, it's been the majority of the parents have been, able to get here on time for those competitions.
Now, I know the Irvington facility well. I confess I do the occasional public address appearance at Irvington High School the last number of years for a variety of sports. If somebody from another school wanted to come and watch one of their kids play, you could pull up in the parking lot behind the press area, behind the fence there, and you can peer through the fence and watch your kids play. Is that okay?
Yeah, technically they're not. We've been asking visiting spectators to not come to the campus at all. That's not to say that people might not try to do it. At times I totally understand why parents would want to see their children play. In an event that does happen, we, very nicely ask them, if they wouldn't mind please leaving. Unfortunately, that the campus is closed to outside spectators. And that's something that every athletic director across the section is going to have to deal with right now, because many of our campuses are open in a sense that people could come. The way that we're operating it right now with their chaperones too is, they have, wristbands for the people that are checked in at the screening tent and where the gate lists are held. So it's easy for us to identify people too if they don't have or can't produce, a wristband at the event. Again, I totally understand why parents would want to, see their children, but if we were to look at what happened in this past spring, those individuals, those student athletes, didn't have an opportunity to even play, and we want to try to keep that atmosphere as safe as possible to prevent the spread of any type of coronavirus and allow our student athletes to complete their seasons.
Now, the facility at Irvington is a pretty big facility. I think it's easy enough to social distance. Have you been utilizing a full staff of off the field officials?
Yeah, so we have, we definitely have protocols in place to try to maintain social distancing between those individuals. We do have staff members that are circulating the area to check to make sure that people are, again, wearing the wristbands after they've checked in to make sure that they are people that are supposed to be at the event. But like many of our campuses, it's pretty open. So we have had to bring in some additional staff to make sure that people are complying.
Here we are in Westchester Talk Radio, the Sports Report. I'm John Marino, and we are produced, of course, by Sharc Creative and made possible by Entergy, the Indian Point Energy Center, supporting our communities through April of 2021. Also by White Plains Hospital. Our thanks to our heroes at White Plains Hospital for all they've done throughout this COVID-19 pandemic. Wartburg Healthcare and Rehabilitation of Mount Vernon, Park Sterling Realty of Bronxville, and Michael Labriola, Landscape Design and Construction in Armonk, joined by John Buonamano, Athletic Director at Irvington High School, Director of Health, Physical Education, and Athletics in the Irvington School District. John, we just touched on the off-the-field officials, the people who don't run around during a field hockey game or a soccer game. How about on-field officials, in-game officials? Has it been difficult to get a full complement of what you need game by game out there on the field itself?
At this point in time, we have not had that issue, which we're very fortunate. I think, part of the decision, leading up to modified sports not happening this fall, unfortunately, it had to do with officials as well, so that there is a full complement of officials at our games to make sure, again, not only are we safe from, a health standpoint during this pandemic, but safety concerns that are attributed to sports themselves and not having correct officials at events. So we have had a full complement of officials at our games thus far.
Now, the Journal News recently ran an article about the importance, how much more important athletic trainers and the training staffs are this season because of the situation, and those who clean the facilities too. You have one of the top trainers around in Hannah Gross on staff there at Irvington High School. Hannah's the best. I think you found that out already, being at Irvington for a few months. What has it been like for her and the people who work with her to make sure all protocols are followed and that everything is taken care of and cleansed up to date and everybody's following the protocols as best as possible?
Yeah, she's been absolutely phenomenal to work with. I have heard, of Hannah in the past, and, she surpasses all the great accolades I've ever heard.
She runs a tight ship, yeah.
And she was a huge part in the development of our own plan, as far as developing protocols and procedures to make sure, again, that our student athletes, our coaches, spectators are all safe in this environment. So she's been instrumental in helping us be successful.
The implications of shifting around sports seasons. We have a limited fall season. We'll have fall season 2, late winter, early spring. The winter sports season, I guess, that doesn't technically open until January 4th. And then we have, of course, the regular spring season kind of pushed back a bit, May, June. How does this affect the student athlete from what you've been able to tell so far? And we're in phase 1 here in the fall, because we have student athletes who take part in all 3 regular sports seasons. Somebody may play football, wrestle, play baseball. Could someone now take part in 4 sports seasons, get involved in the sport here now in the fall, and then you got 3 sports seasons coming up in 2021 between January and June? I don't see why somebody who would like to take part in 4 sports could not do that now.
Yeah, they do have that opportunity now. And it's something that I have articulated to some of our student athletes that, had some questions about the upcoming seasons and, hoping that our winter sports season is something, that we can make possible. We're still waiting on some guidance from the state officials in reference to what that might look like. But once we receive it, we're going to do everything that we did this past fall to make sure that those athletes have that opportunity. And fortunately, our New York State Public High School Athletic Association and Section 1 athletics, when they did reposition the sports, they're going to minimize any type of overlap between other sports so that those individuals, especially for small schools like us, have the opportunity to play multiple sports. I mean, we rely heavily on multi-sport athletes. And a concern I had early on was that we weren't going to, be able to have our student athletes play in multiple sports, because the initial or the tentative schedule that had come out earlier in the summer had a large overlap between that fall season 2 and the spring season, and even part of the winter season, which would have hindered a lot of student athletes being able to play multiple sports. But they adapted that in a great way so that they would minimize any type of overlap, allowing those athletes to play 4 sports this year.
Now, once we get into 2021, we have those 3 seasons back to back to back. And then we ask the question, student athletes, for somebody who plays 3 sports in early 2021 and 3 seasons, as they'll be back to back to back, are they going to have time to go to school too? After all, student is part of this too. And I guess for the student athletes, anyone who takes part in 3 sports in 2021 in the second part of this school year, that's something they'll have to learn and juggle and figure out. And that's what this is all about too. What you learn as an athlete, how to make things happen, how to make lemonade out of lemons.
Yeah. And time management is key. Anytime you're a student athlete, you really have to have the capability, of adapting quickly, dealing with adverse situations and being resilient. And part of that is, managing your schedule so that ultimately it's cliche, but student comes before athlete. They're here for school first. And we want to make sure that our athletes have that opportunity to make sure that their studies are first and foremost. But now they'll have that opportunity to play multiple, an additional sport than they've had in the past. So, that's something that they're going to continue to work with. And our coaching staff is very mindful of that as well. I've inherited some great coaches here and had a lot of great conversations with them as well. And I think it's something that is going to help benefit the overall well-being of our student athletes and also their character moving forward.
Now, this is a bit far in advance. Do you see any impact on the 2021-2022 school year athletically at this point?
Honestly, not right now. I'm still hoping to.
You're worried about today and tomorrow, right?
Make the winter. Yeah, I'm hoping that we can make the winter season work out the way that the fall has started out so far. So I think we're all just kind of, evaluating the situation on a day-by-day basis and adapting as needed. And I think we're all hopeful that we return to our normal, our old normal, as soon as possible.
Have you had to work in tandem with other sections too, nearby sections like a Section 9 or maybe the sections out on Long Island to coordinate all together here in the southern part of the state?
So we've taken a very regional approach. Each section has had their own ideas about how they were going to handle things. I know that the Long Island schools decided to postpone their seasons for this fall, and so did Section 9, which I actually had coached in and live in that area. So I know that they're on pause right now. And every community has to do what's best for them and make sure that they could see where they're at and how they're able to make sure that, again, that it's a successful season and a safe season for everyone. So we haven't had a lot of communication from our level, like individual athletic directors. I do know a few that I'll have conversations with, but nothing as far as like jointly coming up with ideas. That's something that's handled through the New York State Public High School Athletic Association, our executive director here at Section 1, the executive directors all across, the state, and the task force that was created, the COVID task force from the New York Public High School Athletic Association.
And in Section 9, of course, the Mid-Hudson Valley, the upper part of Dutchess County, Orange County, Ulster, and Sullivan County, covering the middle part of the Hudson Valley. As we head towards the holidays now, they're not too far away. How do you see the rest of the fall season shaping up at the moment? Again, knowing that this can change as soon as we wrap up this talk here. Are there going to be, for example, league championships at the end of the season?
So I think that's something that our championship committee at Section 1 is still evaluating. Ultimately, we would love to be able to provide those opportunities for basically a culminating event if possible. Right now, I know we're really, focused on making sure that our kids have opportunities to play right now. And then if we are able to make it through, and it's something that the executive committee makes a final determination on, then we would, provide that opportunity. So again, I think, there's a lot of people that are going to have different sort of opinions on that. I think, from my personal opinion and many of my colleagues I've spoken to, we really wanted to make sure our kids had opportunities to play this year. We didn't want to see kind of a repeat of this past spring, and the fact that they're out there playing right now is first and foremost for all of us.
Is it a bit far-fetched to think about a state tournament at this point?
Well, the state tournament had been canceled. Yeah, that was actually the state and regional championships were canceled by the state already. So if there was any type of postseason play, it would just be strictly a Section 1, like a sectional championship. But again, that's something that still hasn't been determined. But I think again, if we're able to continue on the way that we've started, and teams are able to compete, in the postseason, then that's something that we'll look at.
Especially for a senior and for a lot of juniors too. You have colleges recruiting. This is their time to shine in front of a college scout, in front of a college coach. What's the best advice you could give to a student athlete who may not have the opportunity to play and take part in as many games and possibilities of being in front of the recruiting spotlight, yet you still have to find a way to get yourself recruited? As an athletic director, what's your best advice to someone who doesn't have the opportunities right now that they normally would?
Yeah, I would reach out to the schools that are of interest of you, that have the majors that you're looking for, that are in the location that you're, looking to be in. Reach out to those schools, those athletic directors, or those coaches from those schools, and let them know of your interest. I would probably put together your own little video of your skill, related work. If a parent is at a game and is able to film some of your games, definitely share that as well. Also ask about those recruiting kind of camps that they have now with colleges. It used to just be like a fundraising opportunities for colleges in the past. I know when I played, college that started to recruit me, it was based off of me, being seen at one of their winter clinics. And if they do have those kind of like recruiting camps, I would definitely suggest going to something like that if it's a school that interests you, so that they have an opportunity to see you. But it's very, very important that they have a conversation directly with the coach and show them the level of interest that they have in their school.
Is it worth it maybe for a student athlete to, if they graduate this year, take a year off and just take some time, maybe develop their skills a bit more before they possibly go on to college to play? Based on the situation, obviously, anything can happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's an individual, an individual decision as far as something like that, what someone would want to do. If your abilities, if you're an individual that really cares and wants to play at the next level, you're going to do whatever you can to make sure that you stay as up to par as possible as far as your skills and your talent level. So I would really recommend that if someone does want to go on and play at the next level, to continue to work really hard, do all the little things off, on their own time, away from the team, to enhance their skills, and do whatever they can to try to show coaches that they have the ability to play. It's very rare that freshmen honestly walk into a college setting and start playing immediately. So you just being able to show the basic skills of your sport. College coaches have the ability to look at that and be able to make some projections about where you might be in the years to come. And I think that it's important that you continue to stick with it and not, kind of take off time and use this as a time to do other things. Just stick with the passion and the skills that you have and continue to work towards it.
Is it best to say we might see some out of the box thinking when it comes to getting kids recruited?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's the recruiting world has changed a lot. It didn't exist the way that it does now when I was playing, and it was more on me to do a lot of that myself. And it's all about self-promotion. You have to do whatever you can to get in front of a coach. And like I said before, picking up the phone and just having a conversation with a coach about their school and about their program, and that you have interest in both of them, I think will go a long way, because a lot of people don't do that. I think so. If you do pick up the phone and you have a conversation, direct conversation with them, not a text message or an email, I think it would be tremendously helpful in that recruiting sense. A coach will probably ask you for video, and you could grab, a parent or a guardian or a friend even to film you doing those basic skills, those fundamental skills that you have. Doesn't have to be something that's really long. It could be something that's shortened to the point so that they could just see what your skill set is, and then it'll go from there.
Like they say today, when it comes to recruiting, put it on tape, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're going to want to see you, and it's difficult in the sense that colleges aren't going to be able to really come out and see people right now. And like I said, you're going to have to think of different ways to get yourself in front of them. So I would definitely start there, and then coaches would definitely reach out. If it's something that interests them, they will be reaching out to you and letting you know that they're interested, and maybe there are opportunities that they might have as far as those kind of like showcase clinics and stuff like that they might host at their own school.
John, is there any major differences between being the athletic director at Irvington as opposed to your time at Croton? You've certainly gone green at Irvington, as you showed off with the mask. Irvington Bulldogs, green, the home color.
Yeah, listen,
let's see that again.
I'm sorry.
Let's see that mask again if you have it. If you still have it on the side there. Show us that mask again, the green Bulldogs mask.
All right. This is the green Bulldogs mask.
Great mask.
Yeah, great.
Certainly have gone green, no doubt about that.
Yeah, listen.
Big change for you to come from Croton to Irvington? A big change for you?
Yeah, I not a huge change. Both places have great people. It was a difficult decision to leave, but it was one that I thought, was best suited for me and my family. And I'll always cherish the time that I had in Croton, but I'm really excited to be here in Irvington, and becoming a Bulldog has been great. Everyone's, welcomed me with open arms and made this transition as easy as it could possibly be in this climate.
And when you get out there on the softball and baseball fields along the Hudson River, you can pretty much touch the Tappan Zee Bridge.
Yeah. It's right there.
That's a good drawback, being closer to the Tappan Zee now than you were at Croton over at Irvington. You can walk to the bridge practically.
Croton had some, beautiful places as well. The Croton Gorge was gorgeous going over there, and I never knew that was there until I started working there. So, every area has some very nice, landmarks, and I'm fortunate to be here now.
You've been fortunate to have the Hudson River as your backdrop for a long time now with everything that you do.
Absolutely. It's very fun coming to work and having that as a backdrop.
John Buonamano, the athletic director at Irvington High School, director of health, physical education, and athletics at Irvington. We thank you for joining us here today on Westchester Talk Radio to discuss the COVID-19 pandemic and the effect on the high school sports season. Best of luck to you at Irvington. Congratulations. Now you are the man in charge with the Bulldogs, at the Bulldogs, and all the best for you here in the 2021 campaign. I know it's been a tough go so far, a long way to go, and let's hope things keep moving in the right direction, step by step.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, John, for having me. Go Bulldogs.
Go Bulldogs, no doubt about that. Great to have you with us, John. Much appreciated. And we are Westchester Talk Radio. WestchesterTalkRadio.com, produced by Sharc Creative, made possible by Entergy, the Indian Point Energy Center. They are supporting our community through April of 2021. Polis Electric. Don't be left in the dark. Get the Polis. Hightower, Westchester. They manage our wealth to a fiduciary standard. White Plains Hospital. At White Plains Hospital, they are our heroes for all they've done throughout this COVID-19 pandemic. Wartburg Healthcare and Rehabilitation of Mount Vernon, Park Sterling Realty in Bronxville, and Michael Labriola Landscape Design and Construction of Armonk. We thank you one and all. Catch all of our Westchester, Fairfield, Putnam, and Dutchess County talk radio programming on our YouTube channel, Sharc Creative YouTube.